I'm Lou Brutus, and for many a year, I've been chatting music and the world with this gentleman. It's always a pleasure. Gavin Rossdale of Bush, hello to you.
Yeah, well,
Sam,
you look rested and tan. Are you surfing? What's going on? Are you riding a bike? What's going on?
you're going to be sorry that you asked, but most of this tan I've gotten from the end of the day after Zoom meetings and interviews like this. I go out and I set up a camera on a tripod and I put a solar filter on it and I try and get pictures of planes flying across the surface of the sun.
Wow.
I know. I was like, what do you say to that?
What airlines fly on the surface of the sun?
Well, it's not that they plan the flights there. I just try and get them as their paths cross from where I'm standing. When we're done, I'll do a share screen and I'll show you some of the pictures.
That's so deep. That's so like Paul Auster when he wrote Smoke, the movie with Harvey Keitel, where you've taken this subject as your métier, right? Whatever you call it,
Yeah.
your thrust of your art. And in the Paul Auster movie he wrote, Harvey Keitel takes this picture 8 a.m. every morning, same corner in Brooklyn outside of his tobacco store and smoke store. And what seems at first as if it would be a picture that never changes is just simply a picture that always changes. It's always changing. It's never the same. So I wonder if in your pursuit of what you find, you never end up with the same picture on your daily journeys with this project.
Well, with these, the planes are always in slightly different places, dependent upon how far away they. Sometimes I'm getting them low to the horizon, so they might be 40 or 50 miles away, or they might be 27,000 feet directly over my driveway where I'm shooting from. So, but that's enough about my pictures. Let's talk
Happy
about
Christmas, everyone.
you know, I've been listening to you since Bush was a baby band, and I'm going to tell you that I think More Than Machines might be the best song I have ever heard from you. It's an amazing, it sounds like, I'll use the term, it sounds like a classic Bush song, but it sounds like one in the modern age. And certainly the subject matter separate from that is really thought-provoking. So tell me all about the creation of this song. I applaud you for it. It's an amazing piece of work.
Thank you so much. It was last of the songs that I had for the record, and it's some songs I just a bunch of songs on my own, bunch of songs with Tyler. Some other songs on my own that I would do, and then Chris would come in and write stuff on that would be a writing thing because he just improved them and put chords on and stuff like that. And on this one, I got this music, and it was very immediate because everything had happened with the Supreme Court, and I felt like tricked into handing the record in too soon. I was like, man, these are one of these things that how can you express yourself and not be in there somehow? It's such a drastic step, and I was so happy that it just slipped so beautifully into this concept about being governed. The role of humans versus machines, and we're all dependent on the machines in our life. We're incapable of operating without that. And I don't know. So I was very lucky. It always feels like a haiku because I've got the whole machine aspect of life, and obviously since Blade Runner, Philip K. Dick, this has been going on about the role of that, and then the Supreme Court, and of course the traditional one that no one cares about, the climate and the world we're destroying. And on a global level, it's hard to get people to care. So it was just one of those songs. And it just sort of, with that line, when everything wrong should be right. And it just, because it seems so straightforward. And those two elements, and those two concepts or ideas, they're pretty arresting. And we're suffering, reeling back from the effects of both, if you think about it, So that was just it, you know. That's all I got about it. And I'm just glad it has this effect. And it's sort of, you know what I mean? You just always do your best, right? You make your music, make your word, make your songs. I want every song to be that song for you. You know, I want every song to be great. And I think that I'm really proud of the record we've made. It really, what I like about the record is it's kind of got the best out of everybody who's on it. You know, and I think that maybe More Than Machines is a really great version of that, you know, because it's everyone pulling in the same direction, doing the same job to make a compelling rock record in a time where it's universally accepted that, you know, rock needs to break out of its, you know, it's hard to break out of it, you know, as a medium. And it's weird because it feels self-contained, and you feel, you know, it's sort of vulnerable about it. Then you think, well, hang on, that's where it came from for me, you know, all the counterculture bands. It started with, you know, the Pixies or whatever, or 4AD records, you know, My Bloody Valentine, Rough Trade record. You know, it's only had this sort of spell in the 90s where suddenly it was like this thing, which I was lucky enough, obviously, to be caught on the wave of. But, you know, suddenly whenever we'd go places, all the bands I loved, I was playing the same places they play on my first tour. You know, it wasn't like they would graduate up to arenas. You didn't see, you know, that wasn't a time when any of those bands, the Pumpkins, weren't playing arenas at that point. You know, they sort of go into that. So I don't know. The whole record I'm really proud of, because have you had that? Do you have the whole record? Did they give you the record?
No, I've only heard the single as of this conversation.
Well, I think that's you know, it's the right track to start with. I don't think there's any better songs to do that job on the record, but it feels I think we made a really record full of vitality, you know, and I think that song is the same vitality as that song, I think, is on the record.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, you know, the overall vibe of the sound of the instrumentation is very much in the here and now. And certainly the lyrical content that I've heard also in the here and now, and yet it's still catchy music. That's the important thing. You can have the greatest message in the world, but if the song kind of sucks, you know, no one's going to hear the message, right? You know, how do you take subject matter like that and not turn the song into a kind of a downer?
Just by having that contrast, you know, because I think that the music that we've made over the years, you know, it's weird because I chose early on, I elected to go plaintive. I elected to go complaints and sort of grievances. You know, like Nick Cave, who is one of my favorite artists of all time, doesn't belt. He stays where he's at, you know, and for some reason, I just feel that it's all to do with performance. It's all to do with like pushing limits. And so you want it to be memorable. Like, I think it's an interesting balance of having really super heavy music that you could have had someone come in and kind of sing sort of heavy metal on it. You know, screamos could sing on that. You know, the music on its own is sort of certain, you know, it's borderline metal, right? It's super riffy at times. But then when I sing, it kind of brings it back into the world of Bush. You know, I think it's funny because, you know, when I first began making music, and when I was trying to get signed in London, trying to sign Bush in London, early on in my life, my voice was touted as the reason that I didn't get signed. I couldn't sing very good. You know, wasn't necessarily good on stage. When they may have been right at that time or at that point in my life, but I learned so much. You know, I just was learning up as I was going along, you know, and now the most defining thing about us, one of the most defining things, ironically, is the voice, my voice. That was so, you know, most people would have withered and disappeared under the criticism of it, and like be told like, you know, it's not for me, and go become a, you know, I don't know, video director or something, you know. And for some reason, I don't know if I was really stupid or just really stubborn or just young and dumb and just like, whatever, this is going to be great. Just refuse to stop. And until, like Grace Jones said on that amazing record, what's his face record? You know, use your faults, use your defects. Trevor Horn, use your faults, use your defects, then you're going to be a star. So I was like, well, if this is such a fucking fault, I just got to keep at it because songs. You know? And so yeah, so I think my voice normalizes it to a bush world.
And do you still get the same sense of pleasure or accomplishment out of a job well done on a song or a record that you did as a kid? I can't imagine it's exactly the same because you're an older, wiser person.
Yeah, but that's me. I mean, I am thrilled and I'm like seduced by the alchemy of music and the way that when I put one section with another section, I work with the drums and the thing works. Oh, I'm bouncing around like I'm so happy. Slap the engineer on the back. I'm just so, and he's a very mellow guy. You know, the best I get out of him is I say, John, do you think this is any good? I mean, you know, is any good? Oh yeah. He goes, oh yeah. It's like so mid, he's like Fargo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's it. You know what I mean? So no, quite the opposite. I think it's sustained. And now what happens, when I used to write the songs back in the day, I do them with a bit of a dodgy drum beat on my LSS, like SR16, which I still have, and I play guitar, play riff, and then sort of piece it together and then play it to the guys. And then the Nigel was originally the guitar player. He used to demo songs up, and he's an amazing person at demoing songs up. Now in my studio, I can create a whole landscape. I can be on my own. I'm at a party of like riff heaven. I can just be playing a riff. As soon as I get the riff that I love and I like, or a piece of music that I like, so not every song is on a riff, a section of music, I just put that on repeat. I'm walking around the house. I'm like singing this, I'm singing that, trying different things. And no, I love it. It's like, I've always seen, I mean, now being a dad, I feel that, it's the kind of the right thing is that my main job is to be a dad, I feel that. But really my main job outside of the procreation is a songwriter, And so I just want to write great songs all the time and just want to get better at it and like try and figure it and study things. This stuff is all different tuned guitars, for example. Like the last record, The Kingdom, was all drop guitars. This is all every song is all in drop. And it's funny because people say, wow, it sounds like old Bush. I was like, well, it actually doesn't, because it's completely different. But what it is the same energy, the same vitality, the same like desire. And that desire is infectious. You know what I mean? People they respond to your passion. I see that on stage, it's why I choose to be a performing performer. Some people can perform and not do much and be incredible to watch, and, they don't have to do that much. I don't know what it is. Like I feel insecure, inadequate, vulnerable. But when I'm just like lost in it. Like Jim Morrison at his wildest, because I just think that's the most interesting part of me that people see live. It's me standing there. I'll stand there for the mellow songs I have to play. But I think when you play, you have to be like a talisman. You have to be like super wild. And that goes in turn with the kind of way that I sing. And so it's just, you all have your lanes. There's so many different ways of doing it. And for better, for worse, this is the lane I choose. And that's why when the songs are like machines, I can lose myself in the songs, and any of these songs you will hear that were coming out for the record, they're just, they're just kind of out there and can play them any of these festivals we just played in Europe. You could just play these songs at and just be like, okay, the crowd isn't disappointed. It's not like a dip in quality. I didn't take a lyric holiday, sort of try to make everything interesting the whole way. And obviously I don't know until you hear it. I might have failed, but I definitely got one out of 12. I've done all right.
Tell me about the video for the tune and where the clips came from, because it's scary and interesting to watch it, and it certainly matches the vibe of the song very well.
Yeah, I can't remember what they began it. They sent it along to me, some ideas. I really liked it. I just didn't want it to be. I want it to be about people taking a stand. I didn't want it to be aggressive. It's not an aggressive issue. For instance, the Roe versus Wade. It's not about it's not physical aggression. It's sort of it's arguing the law and peaceful processing for people, so the people that uphold the law, but also uphold the citizens of the country and what they want, you know, what they wish for. And there's clearly an imbalance. I mean, I don't know how this has come about, and it just seems to be these endless political pawns that don't have anything to do with, you know, it feels like political pawns the whole time. Like we just, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anti-government. I had no intention of going to the, you know, Capitol, you know, January 6th. I had no intention of being there doing that. You just want a progressive society where everyone could flourish and people, minorities, are not discarded and harassed as they have been, you know, through history, you know, by everyone around the world. You know, nobody, no innocence around the world at all.
You were speaking a little bit earlier about live performance, and the last I caught you was just an amazing time on stage for you and the band at Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin. And you did something that was very simple, but very effective, and I think the audience greatly enjoyed. You just went out into the crowd for a while, about 15 or so minutes, and it reminded me a bit of what you were saying about the pictures in Smoke with Harvey Keitel. Going out into the audience, if you do that every night, it sounds like it's the same thing. You just go out in the audience. But every audience, I would imagine, and every journey out there takes on, it becomes a journey of its own. Do you remember that particular moment and doing that for other crowds, and what it's like to get out there?
It's a very astute point and interesting, because it is the same, but it's completely different. And what happens is that when you go out there, you reinvigorate. It's like plugging everyone back in, because you can go all the way out. Well, sometimes you go out and they're already elevated and going nuts. But other times when you get way deep, I always try and go as far as I can. It's like a sort of a thing. I've got to get there, because people need the unexpected. People need surprises, because we don't get them enough. And what a gift it is to be able to do that. And the excitement, the waves of people, and it's incredibly unique for them, because they're only there that night. You know what I mean? And I obviously stopped it because we weren't on tour, and I stopped it post the COVID thing, and then just started to do it again, because people like getting a bit more, slightly less trouble with it, but I couldn't help it. But it's so far it's been all right. What an amazing thing to do. I always say I'm not going to do it because I want to keep it special. And then there's a special moment in the set where I go, oh man, they didn't see me. You know, and I go, and then I have the drum tech for Nick is an ex-Marine, Finch, and he's loves it. He's like, he needs to run around the venue, so he just runs around with me and makes sure that I come back at some point and laugh. And normally I lose people, I can't lose him. The only time I regretted it, and I didn't even regret it for real, I just was like, oh shoot, was Red Rocks, because they have these really big long bleachers. They're like 2 feet, maybe 4 feet. They're not seats, they're like bleachers. So we've already got 4,000 feet above sea level, or 2,000 feet, thousands of feet above sea level. So you're already a bit wheezy. And halfway doing the thing, I was like, oh man, I forgot, because it's really steep. And these tall things, I made it to the top, but I was like, did you have to do it today of all days? Because you look weird halfway up, you know.
That's awesome. And I got to tell you something, the bill with you, Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and the Life Project, who is going to be opening up the night. I don't know who put that together, but I'd like to shake their hand because I think it's an extra special night. And I would have to think, in the best of ways, having that many other great bands around you makes everyone, I think, of the night think, man, I have better bring my fucking A game to this every night.
Yeah, I think that you know, there was talk a little while ago, ironically, of us going on tour this time with Breaking Benjamin, and even to the point where I went to join them on stage in Reno to do, and I did a cover with Ben and the band of Wood by Alice in Chains. So we did that to announce maybe we'd be doing a tour together. Then the pandemic got worse, that went away. And then I heard they were going to tour with Alice in Chains. I was like, oh, well, that's how it goes. These things happen. And then they asked us to come with them. And it just seemed a fantastic lineup of, the younger bands in Breaking Benjamin, obviously huge following, a lot of fans that wouldn't necessarily know us, and with Alice in Chains, I think a lot of fans who may not have a clear picture of who we are, and by the time we finish the set, they will. So there's two huge bands of audiences that we can become friends with, you know what I mean? And if we played on our own, we'd never play to those people. So there's something about that. And I think that it's really a beautiful thing for people to be able to, when there's so many tours going on, that's a tour. If you like rock music, that's a lot of songs, that's a lot of performers, and I think that's really a valuable thing to have lots of reasons for people to go to the show. It's cool.
And again, now for you to prepare to go for a tour, it's not like the old days. You grab a bag, get on the bus, and I'll see you in 6 months. Now you've got family things to think about. Tell me about the week of preparation.
Chargers, things I got to worry about most. All these machines, I just need charger for my charger. I got a charger for my charger in case my other charger doesn't work.
Sounds like a song lyric.
Yeah. Next record. But it's fun. I mean, I'm gonna miss being here. It's the end of my summer at home, but it's what we do, and I love it. Yeah, I love it. Some people can't take it. You know what I mean? As long as my kids come out and see me, I can take it. Because they say that you earn your money in the day. You know what I mean? Nighttime is all free. I'm just happy to be there, and you get paid for sitting around in hotel rooms in North Dakota going, what's happening with my life? Where am I? Then you go play and you go, this is why. And then the next day you wake up and where? And you go, oh my God. And then you play. It's this seesaw. So it sort of takes a mental resilience,
The best sum up of the touring experience that I've ever heard is from Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick, who said, they don't pay me to play. I play for free. They pay me to leave my house and travel. That's what I get money for.
Right. And having just played Australia with Rick, doing a tour, we really traveled a lot. I traveled a lot with him. What a spectacular bunch of people that band is. Great people. And we traveled a lot. Rick always looks as stylish as hell whenever we travel. The stylish man.
That would be the Summer Under the Stars tour, which I'm so glad happened because Australia at that point was really tough for COVID. There's also a lot of flooding at that point, I think. What were some of the weirdness that happened on the tour?
Well, it was like we hadn't toured in so long. The big excitement was go and finally play The Kingdom, the new record that came out 2 Julys ago. And it was all like, it's summer down there, you have a great time. And we got there in Sydney and it was like torrential rains, which is like, how do we get to Germany? Where did the plane, what are we doing here? And the first show, we had a big press conference, it was kind of fun. And then the first show was like 3.5 hours drive to a field outside of Sydney. And I was like, they ain't got any fields closer than Sydney. It's like, we played on a farm, played on a big farm. It's like, okay, they just needed some open space, whatever. So we played that show, and that was a bit of a worry because I was thinking, what are we doing here? But then as soon as that kicked off, there was one other show that was a bit like, we went to a cricket club. It's like literally like a barbecue. People like sat in the deck chairs. I was like, oh, hold on, people. This is not the show we're putting on, Be careful, we're loud. And that turned out good. And then from there, then the heat came. Then it was everything that I thought. And so it's just fun traveling. It's really, we travel with STP and with, with Rick and Cheap Trick.
I would like to put the idea in your head right now that for a live record, "Be Careful, We're Loud" might be the perfect title. Well, Gavin, listen, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I look forward to catching up with you on the tour, and hopefully we can sit down in person, and hopefully the family will be out there. I can say hi to everybody.
I hope so. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks, Lou.